This is where the fun begins.
Are you sure? So be it. Did you miss me?
And I've always leaned towards if we're going to create something, we should check and see if it existed already to the fans, because it has way more value if we bring that in. And it's like, why would I just replace it with something new? So if we're going to do an admiral, if we're going to do a big military leader, yeah, I could create a new guy, sure. But what about Thrawn? Thrawn is great. Thrawn is a character we all know. Thrawn has a lot of credibility. So then you ask yourself, is it right to use him? And can we use him in a way that's similar to the books? Or are we using him and it's going to go completely into left field? And there have been times when we wanted to use things from the EU, and I was like, yeah, but we can't use it that way, so why? I don't want to use it and change it. You know, I don't want to use it and make it something completely different. That's rude.
Good morning, everyone, and how are you doing? It is finally that day of the week, or morning of the week, or whatever time zone you're in this world. It's Caf Chat. So I'm happy to be here with you guys. And I wanted to read this here before we get into further of our discussions, greeting everybody, all of that. So here's a quote that I shared last night from on Twitter regarding the Chiss and Thrawn and all this. And this is original lore, mind you. You joined Thrawn, Fel. That's not the same as joining the Chiss. We have ways and traditions he turned his back on. And by joining him, you prove that you don't respect them either. Ina Ganata Nurardo to Suntir Fel. So I probably butchered her name or his name, but there you go. So we are continuing with the Chiss Lore Part 2, and I hope to finish this up so we can get back to Exar Kun for next Thursday. I'm looking forward to that because getting into his Sith and his Sith influence that basically influenced way into Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy, the formation of it on Yavin 4, is going to be a fun discussion, you know, because I know a lot more people know more about post Return of the Jedi lore than anything else, unless you got the gamers who went into KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, which is great, which is fine, and then you have him there. But this is like a huge cross-reference here. So thank you guys for hopping in. Everybody's starting to join. So as you join, please smash the like button, just like Soul Assassin says, and share the stream out. If you're catching the replay, please leave comments below, letting me know, creating discussion. You know, I try to go in there and find any discussions, reply, or at least heart or whatever. So please leave your comments below. Let me know you are here as well. And share the stream. Subscribe if you have not. And big announcement, if you haven't seen it already, for the channel members, I see at least one or two here. We are having the Clone Wars 03, or Clone Wars 03, Tartakovsky's Watch Party Volume 1 on November 5th at 6 p.m. And I'm using the webinar so that I don't get shut down by YouTube by sharing my screen and stuff. So we're using the StreamYard's webinar, so it's more private, intimate, where you can come in, we can watch, discuss over chat and stuff like that. And I'm trying to figure out how to do volume 2 since YouTube took down volume 2 of Clone Wars 03. So that one I will figure out how to do if there's a way that I can still play it here. I don't have a CD-ROM on my laptop. So I used to have a converter where I could plug it in through the ISB or whatever it's called. Yeah. So anyways, I'll probably have to get that and play it on there and stream it that way to you guys for volume 2. That's why we're not doing 1 and 2 together. We're just doing volume 1. So let's see who's in the chat. But first of all, what beverage are you enjoying? What's in your mug this morning? I'm not coming on camera because I had a busy morning. I'm not fully ready. So I'm partially dressed in pajamas and stuff like that. So, but I'm here. We are here and I'm excited to discuss. So not only are we discussing Chiss Lore, which is going to the culture, the military, all of that now. But we're going to get to cringe factor. So one of the cringe factor has something to do with Yoda. So they're slowly making him out to be such a bad character in the Disney lore. So we'll get into that for cringe factor. But also, there's another one that we're getting into about Dave Filoni, retconning Anakin, basically. So that's all I'm going to say right now. So you guys keep that in mind. We'll get into this. So let's see here. So I had Holocron, Library Fox. Good morning, Alora. Good morning to you, who's been hanging out for a little while, waiting for the stream to start. And then Iron Inquisitor, good old coffee, ready to drink. Cheers to that. I know that, not everybody's on my time zone and it's morning where I'm at, maybe evening, afternoon for you. So that's fine. But because it's morning time here, that's why I call it Caf Chat. Holocron says, I am well rested, fresh banana shake with cereal for my breakfast because my German butt sleeps on Pacific time these days. Well, I'm happy that you could come in and make it and interact and watch, discuss all of that fun stuff. Yeah, so I'm glad you're here, even though maybe, you might go back to your normal sleeping pattern. I'm so happy to have you here with us. Channel member, Melissa Lore. Hey girl, OG Stars. And how are you doing? Thank you for popping in and being here and supporting always. So last night I had channel members stream with Open Airlock Policy, Tim. And it's a collaboration because mostly we have the same channel members. So we have like a cross... So it's a cross-channel collaboration over Star Wars. And it was fun sharing the sources we have recommended to you and see what we have and what we don't have and stuff. So that was fun. Little back and forth with him on sharing the source books that we think, and there's even more. I'm pretty sure there's more, but we think that is valuable for your library. And stay tuned for the next announcement for Hall of Knighthood. We haven't fully discussed exactly when we're going to have the next one. Every time there's going to be a different topic. And then you guys, as always, as channel members, can ask questions, create a discussion yourself. And we're happy to oblige as much as we can. Yeah, that's what that's all about is, sharing the lore, and our knowledge, and having you reciprocate that by sharing your knowledge and stuff too, because we're always growing together in Star Wars lore. Even if you read nearly almost everything, going back and rereading, you'll discover something you've missed. You may discover, oh yeah, this piece of lore here is referencing this book back here in the timeline, and you'll notice not continuity and stuff like that. Even sometimes continuity errors. So that's a given. Jim says, hello, Jim, and good morning. Hello, everyone. Am I the only one who thinks live action Thrawn that leaves an awful taste in my mouth looks like Data from Star Trek? And there's a lot more than that. So Next Generation, if he missed a few updates. Yeah, I think that, well, not that you're the only one, but that's the consensus with that. And then, oh, look, the man who said that when he was a kid, he got confused by the episode title. when we all know that back in the 70s, he just called it It was just called Star Wars. And then Soul Assassin, thank you for coming in, always modding. I meant to invite you in last night to help mod for the channel member. So next time I'll be sending you a link so you can come in. And in fact, you'll be getting a link for the Clone Wars R3 if you want to come and mod that and hang out. Just appreciation towards you for coming in and modding whenever you have the chance. Yeah. Let's see here. Blippity blop. Hello. OG Stars loved the chist aspect that were to be found in Sator. Yeah. So we'll kind of be referencing that. A lot of the Chiss Lore, and I'm just going to go ahead and bring the screen up. Might as well. A lot of the Chiss Lore are how you perceive the Chiss has to do with Thrawn. And as the timeline started expanding from then, Zahn and the other authors started expanding more about the Chiss based upon Thrawn and how his characteristic is and stuff is. So we already know the stuff here. I just didn't do a slide. I was just too damn tired last night after we did the live stream with channel members. I just did a little bit of research and read over some stuff that I wanted to touch bases with you guys on the Chiss Lore, created the stream, the thumbnail, all of that, and then went to bed. So, but I have this here. So like, this just gives you a little bit of information about their characteristics and where they're from and stuff like that, just as something to look at. Let's see here. Star Round 7. Hello, how are you? And Batu, hey guys. Well, good morning to you from where I live at. Let's see here. Let's see, private, intimate, at least take us to Dex Diners first. That's funny. Oh my goodness. And everybody's like, we had made sure like everybody that was in the stream, the channel member stream, you know, was able to write things down if they wanted to get those books and stuff. So some were like, am I going to have any money left over? And I'm like, I can't predict that for you. Melissa Lord says, I can get you digital files for whatever Star Wars games you need. Have you played Dark Forces yet, OG? I haven't had a chance yet, but I appreciate it. I will eventually. I'm hoping by this wintertime I can make time for myself to sit down and start playing some games so I can review some games, because it's been a very long time since I gamed. Not that I don't like games and stuff like that. It's just life took me on, you know, playing in the band in junior high and stuff, and dance in junior high, and a lot of art opportunities and stuff like that, you know, nerding and geeking out in those areas too as well. So those gaming, you know, fell to the wayside for myself. Reading didn't, but gaming did. Check out OG's merch. Yes. And I keep forgetting to advertise the merch. I have merch there. My prints are not up for sale just yet. I still have copies that people can purchase of some of my art, especially the Star Wars. I haven't had a chance to fully revamp my website. So that will come to suit. But if anybody has any questions about any of the prints that I painted and stuff, and you want to get them, let me know. And we can discuss that. And I'll let you know what size prints I have left on me. So, yeah. In fact, well, not the mug. The mug I'm drinking out of it is the Twin Suns mug. But you can also get a mug from my merch so that when Caf Chat is out, you can, you know, be like, oh, I'm going to grab that mug, you know, and represent. So I'm just a subscriber. Hello, channel member. Sadly, I finished my caf before the stream morning. That's okay. You had your caf. That's fine. And I would say, what the hell? Just go ahead and get another cup. Might as well, right? By the way, accusations of body shaming when they can't even get the eyes right. Pot calling the kettle black much? Yeah. Yeah, I did that compare and contrast between the images of Disney Thrawn versus that of the original. And so it's body shaming, but I don't know. You know, you can't do anything without it being hate. You can't critique. You can't take any EU material to compare and contrast, to critique. You can't even critique Filoni's writing against maybe, like, for example, Stackpole. If you've noticed, if you've seen my tweets, I said basically that Filoni doesn't know how to write mature military intrigue, I guess you could say, political intrigue and drama. And then I compared him to Michael Stackpole with one of a scene in Krytos' Trap when Wedge sought counsel about Tycho Selchuk and, and that political military intrigue, what's going on there. And someone's like, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Quit hating, just because I critiqued the writing of Filoni's. I could have done that if any of his, including TCW against Stackpole's. Filoni is not a mature writer. He is a cartoon writer. He specializes in cartoon. So that is less mature. It's quirky. You really can't take it serious unless you have one of those writers that can offer depth. And there's those that can. Not saying that, a person who develops cartoons can't create any depth, any drama, because we've seen it. But Filoni does not fit that. His writing does not fit that. And it's apparent with what I've seen. It is apparent from what I'm seeing people talk about. I do observe, I do research, I do all of that. So I know what I'm talking about, especially if I need to discuss something between both lores. And so if you critique in any way and it hurts anybody who is a Filoni fan, who worships him, puts up those little, like praising Filoni, and stuff like that, images and stuff like that, then you're just hating. So, critique is now being used as hate, which is quite funny because no one can grow if you're never critiqued, if you're never given a constructive criticism, right? And I'm not saying that I did this for Filoni for him to grow. I can care less. I'm just comparing between him and a better writing method, a better writer. Lore galore, correct. And then, have y'all ever seen the movie American Psycho? Y'all think OG or the open airlock acted like Bill when he saw the nice ivory card, but Star Wars books? Oh my God, that's hilarious. And then Tommy Doyle, hello, how are you doing? Hiya. So in my language, in Lakota, how that's spelled is pronounced hiya, and that means no. So yeah, just a little bit of tidbit about me. Did I miss it? Yoda was wrong with the whole time. No, not yet. That will be later on. We're slowly getting into Chiss Lore here. So we'll get into that here pretty quick with the Chiss Lore. People are still bouncing in, popping in. Star Wars Scron, hello OG, and how are you doing? And Dad Man Walking, he is nearing a milestone here. So if you haven't subscribed to Dad Man Walking, go ahead and subscribe to his channel. Help him reach his milestone here. Hell, and good morning OG, and thank you. We'll be in and out with work. That's okay. I'm glad. And whatever you missed, go ahead and catch the replay. And those channel members who were able to make it to the channel member stream last night, or were not able to make it. Sorry if I will be, after we're done here, I will be putting the video up. It is only for members only. So those who are channel members will be able to catch the replay, especially if you missed. If you're still comprising your list and you're like, I forgot that book and I didn't write it down, perfect resource for you to check it out. And I may cut a couple of little shorts out of that just to share with everybody on our discussion, kind of advertise the channel a little bit and what we provide for channel members. Tommy says, I haven't played much of the games. I've played Fallen Order and Force Unleashed. Cool. My Caf is Coke, like every morning, laugh out loud. That used to be me. I finished drinking soda. I stopped drinking sodas like 18 years ago and haven't looked back. I'd say he doesn't know how to write period correct. All right, so let's get into lore. I know everybody's popping in. Marcus is here. Hello, hello. Thrawn can't find Ezra, but the witches can find Ahsoka with their magic balls. That sounds so bad. But not for Ezra. For 10, maybe Ezra's balls kind of like cancels out their balls. I had to go there. I'm sorry. You guys should know me by now. My mind goes into crazy areas. So let's see. Watch Prima OG. It's a cartoon that very good with little to no dialogue from Tartakovsky. He was very good in that. Very good with that. Silent cartoon dramatic scenes and stuff like that. So let's get into the Chiss Lore. So culture wise, this is going to be very, very interesting. Let's see here. Dad Man, I wanted to catch this real quick. I'm an auditor. Critique is the main way to learn from things to improve. Correct. Yeah. So, but people are like, it's hating. Don't hate. Well, okay. So, so let's get into the Chiss culture here. I wanted to get more into the culture right now before we get into just like the military stuff. So, like I said, the overall galaxy's perception of the Chiss was based upon Thrawn. So Chiss weren't very well known. They were a very private race or species, and they were proud of that because they didn't like conflict, militaristic wise. They didn't provoke all of that, fights and stuff like that, battles and stuff like that. And we'll get into more of that and why Thrawn was exiled based upon their culture and their military, I guess you could say guideline rules that they have. So Thrawn kind of set up the attitude of the Chiss towards that the galaxy perceived. And that's a very threatening kind of attitude, right? So if you see this Chiss, this blue man with these glowing red eyes, and you really haven't seen them before. Like I said, they weren't very known throughout the galaxy. We know that they appeared here and there, like KOTOR, our Knights of the Old Republic. We had a couple of cis Jedi, but being Force sensitive was not common as much, or like very, very, not very common at all. So that's why you really didn't see any of them in the orders, including Luke's order. And so just imagine, seeing Thrawn and then now seeing another Chiss and thinking, holy shit, are they going to try to take over? Like the perception of that and the fear maybe Thrawn may have, and the respectful fear, I guess you could say, towards him and his intelligence and all of that. That is like, that would probably be kind of frightening in a sense. They were also well educated. They also had demonstrated various personalities similar to other species. So there are different personalities, of course, because they're sentient beings. And, they're very polite and highly civilized. So again, just imagine, seeing this they're very staunch in their features, in their attitude, in their demeanor. So imagine that, seeing another Chiss and remembering what Thrawn was and how his character was and how that probably felt to other people of the galaxy or whatever. So they were also seen to be cold, calculating, and also aloof personalities, basically. And blah, blah, blah. So, they were very to the point as well. So what was your guys' perception of Thrawn? Like, I mean, we're probably have all the same perception of Thrawn, but just imagine yourself as a person of the Star Wars galaxy and witnessing the threat of Thrawn, and then witnessing maybe coming in face to face with another Chiss. Just imagine. So if you want to share in the chat how maybe you would have perceived that, would that have frightened you? Would you have deep respect? All of that. So let me know. I just want to go back to my window here. I hate when stuff freezes up. There we go. Habunas is here. Hello, hello. And I do have a new channel member, and I will actually, Jack of all casuals. Looks like he's coming back, I think. But anyways, new channel member here. Thank you so much. All right. And Abunas is in the house, and thank you for coming, dropping in. I know he comes in during lunch breaks when he can. He is working. Let's see here. Have to hand it to those Chiss. Not only do they steal their weapons, they improve it. Yeah, exactly. And I loved that when I was doing my research on the Clawcraft. They are very advanced even in their technology, and we'll get to that. There's so much to cover, so I'm trying to breeze through my notes and everything to not make this too long, because I did add 2 cringe factors, so I don't know which one I'm going to present first. The one that's probably going to piss everybody off, or the one that's going to be less than or more than getting people pissed off. So, are cringed about something. So if that makes sense. So yes. So very, very smart bunch of people. Let's see here. So, and of course, I'm going to ask questions like this. Okay, I want you to display. There you go. I would not like Chiss since that one Chiss bartender was such a prick to Kyle Katarn. That's right. That's right. I forgot about that bartender. Hello. Hello, and thank you again. Yeah, I thought I was already a member, so I rectified that quick. Yeah, sometimes it happens. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's so those who are channel members, not only to mine but other channels, make sure that you go back to see if you're remaining. Sometimes you do fall off for whatever reason. I don't know why. I can't explain the mechanics of YouTube. Abuna says, I'd have deep respect for the Chiss from the real lore, and because I play Sator and my Chiss character is an Imperial officer, is badass. Yeah. Awesome. Caca, the new that reminds me of Sparrow, but I'm not going. The nuance bird is in. There we go. So let's get back to the lore here. All right. I hate when I'm going to have to clean out my computer because I have so many files on to just sometimes get all wacky. So let's see here. Okay. And there we go. I hate when it frees up. Okay, take a sip and take a breath. Yeah, so the Chiss, basically, because of the planet, and we touched bases with this last week, because of the planet they basically evolved on, they had to be, what's the word I'm looking for? They had to have discipline for survival, I guess you can say, and living in the cold climates and stuff like that. And, we already know that they do grow quicker, like mature quicker than average humans. And even at the age 10, the Chiss go into the military. So there's really no adolescence in this culture here because of the climate that they evolved on. They went from their childhood quickly into adulthood because of their climate, because of the planet they lived on, because of evolution. And on top of that, when they're young, when they're raising their young, they would have the young go to the Scylla library and read all the historical documents there and do their study. They had advanced schooling and all of that, so they are prepared by the age of 10. And furthermore, they're still learning. Of course, they don't stop learning. That's just common sense. And they start going into the military, wearing cadets clothing, outfit, uniforms, I guess you can say. And they do wear a certain, like, whatever their family is, their family origin is, whether they're adoptee or not, they will wear a certain color, a signa color pertaining to what family they are, ruling family they are from, whether they, like I said, they're adopted or not. So very interesting right there on how they raise their children into successful adults and stuff. And one thing that I thought that was very interesting when I was doing my research last night and this morning is that they don't believe in suicide and stuff. They don't believe the wasting themselves. So that would be a complete waste. So they did think very high of themselves as well. And I think that that's apparent with Thrawn. He has that sense of confidence, sense of pride. And then they also say Chiss are arrogant because they do see themselves highly. They don't really fear. They really don't show those type of emotions, even though they do have emotions and stuff. They don't, because that's a waste of time. So when you see Thrawn and he's facing adverse and or like some type of defeat or whatever, and if you read the Thrawn trilogy, you know what I'm talking about. There's times that he pulled away because they failed that mission. And he's like, oh, well, we may lost this, but we have not lost the war, whatever. So, sense of confidence, sense of pride, maybe a little bit of arrogance in there and stuff like that. Very interesting, these guys are. And one thing that I shared with the fun fact that I missed altogether for this presentation here, they're near humanoid, I guess you can say, but further research into some of my source books, one I didn't pick up earlier, is that they are distinctively different than humans, that they can be considered a whole different species, maybe not even near humanoid, so I thought that was interesting to read. So they have the characteristics of humans and stuff, but they're so distinctively different. They are a whole completely different species altogether. So I thought that was very, very interesting. So let me see what you guys have to say in the chat here. Though not to the extent like the new ones. Oh, I didn't see what was going on there, that comment here. Let's see here. You can also customize your saber. Oh, okay, you guys are talking couture. That's cool. The Chiss are kind of like extreme Vikings. In icy environments, you have to huddle together closely for energy conservation. Not much room for emotional outbreaks. Lack of discipline threatens life. Yes, there you go. Nice comparison right there. And I love that. So, thinking about all this and the planet, and there, Scylla is is the main planet they're from, but they also have, around in the Chiss ascendancy of differing planets and stuff. The Disney lore, it is different. So when people say Thrawn is still the same from the original lore, even the slight difference of the location where they're born at, the experience that they had versus the original, makes a completely different character. So don't be fooled by that. Zahn may have wanted to keep the Sis as accurate and very similar to the original lore, but we all know that he written their experiences and their planets and all of that different from the original, maybe to distinguish between the two. Maybe Disney Lucasfilm wanted them to be different, or maybe Thrawn is like, I never I didn't like the approach I did in the original lore, so this is how I'm gonna handle them now. So we don't know exactly what's going on in the background, why everything was changed, but we do know that they are different still. There are similarities, like I said on Twitter. The Chiss as a species remain the same, but their experiences, their ascendancy, their region, events and stuff are all completely different. So that I just wanted to clarify. And thank you, Holocron, for that. That is a great analogy right there. Very great. Let's see here. Let me see here. I'm on chapter 11, Heir to the Empire. Oh, wow. How are you enjoying it? I like the book. I do say it's overrated, but I do love the story. I do love referencing it as well. It did help expand the EU as something more important than they were still tracking continuity before Heir to the Empire, but this really put to light what the fans wanted with the lore. So it's a great book to make awareness to Lucasfilm, our trilogy, I guess you can say, on what the fans wanted towards the lore and stuff. And so it kind of like reinstated what they were doing of keeping the continuity as one timeline. And it just made it more important, I guess you can say, if you want to call it that. And you love it so far. Yeah, I see that. Let's see here. And even in the legends, Thrawn didn't win a battle. The Empire somehow always gained from it. Yeah, like Louis Vaughn. Yes, exactly. He didn't get the ships he needed, so he just deprived the rebels from them. He was very good. Yes, he's like a kid. If I can't play with that toy well, then you can't either. In a sense, I'm not saying it was an immature. That's an immature. It was immaturity and stuff. That was tactical. If I can't have it, you can't have it either. I'll make situations hard for you. Jack of all casuals. Today's youth could not handle the Chiss culture and planet. Boot out the home as soon as 10 and into the military service, no less. Correct. And I thought that was very fascinating. And I do have a super chat. I see that. I will get to it. Let me go ahead and scroll down and I'll go back up. Make sure I know which one. Okay. Because I hate to miss comments, and if I do, I apologize. So Abu Nas with a $10 super chat. He was on the stream last night, and like I said, I used the webinar for StreamYards. It makes it, more private and intimate. And again, the replay will be posted here soon for the channel members who missed. Just wanted to thank you, and then again, I sent the information to the link to Open Airlock Policy to put on his channel for his channel members as well. Just wanted to thank you for all the hard work you put to show us the real lore day in and day out. The hate you get shows you have the haters stressed out, and I'm here all for all of it. Awesome show last night. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I'm contrasting something does not mean hate, but because it touches their nerves, it feels like they're being attacked because they feel like they have to defend Filoni's honor, I guess. I don't know. I've critiqued George good and bad. I have praised Filoni before, I believe, for something. Oh, yeah, for some of the clone episodes. Like TCW, like, give me some of the isolated clone episodes, and that's fairly good. So this is pre episode 6 and 7, obviously. Yeah, so it's not like, oh, I hate everything. No. And my dislike for Filoni is not a recent one. It's been long in the making since he came into Lucasfilm. So it's not like I'm just all of a sudden jumping on this bandwagon of hate. No, this is something that has been there. Our dislike, it has been there since the beginning. And it just keeps like reinstating what I always knew and what I've been warning fans about from the beginning. So, but anyways, we're not going to get into all that. Tommy Doyle says, I'm going to have to jot down. We'll get into that later for the cringe factor. Jot down notes when I reread it eventually to capture the EU book knowledge, unless if there is a DK encyclopedia book to help me explore more of it. Yeah, there is. There's a lot of resources. In fact, like I said, the last night's channel member gathering went through the resources that we recommend. Of course, there's so much more out there. I will probably comprise a list. I always say I'm going to do this and that, and sometimes I forget all about it, and I apologize. But I will comprise a list of source books that are well worth having on your bookshelf. So stay tuned for that. It's my first EU book, and I have like 40, so I'm behind. That's okay. Some people are beginning, and it's never too late to explore. That's the beautiful thing. All right. I wish we got more Old Republic lore on the Chiss. That would be fascinating to see that. And last night when I was going through that, I was thinking the same way. You know, there's very little, but then there's also very little in well, actually, no, there's a lot more in Post Return, because we have the Hand of Thrawn, we have the Survivor's Quest. So we have all those novels that Thrawn's on. And so that gives us a little bit more insight, particularly towards Thrawn himself. But then we started seeing more of the Chiss, other characters like in New Jedi Order. They were in that, and all that. So, yeah. Brandon is here, another channel member. Hey, hi, OG. Sorry I couldn't make it to the Hall of Knighthood last night. That's okay. You will all have that replay up here soon. And Holocron says, you can argue that Chiss aren't quite human anymore. You can't argue that they're humanoid. Humanoid means form as humans. Thus, even little gray aliens are humanoids per definition. Yeah, if you want to get into the nerdy aspects of that. But yeah, they are definitely their own species. Now, can they procreate with humans? I don't think that was ever explored. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody in the chat, if you know. That'd be interesting to see. Melissa says George did say the Heir to the Empire success was what convinced him to make more movies, because people clearly wanted more stories. Yes. People don't realize the EU kept Star Wars thriving between the OT and the PT. And the EU made a lot of money for the company as well. And then people always say, well, the EU was only there so George can make money. Well, so was his movies. They try to shame the EU as only being a device for money. And I'm like, well, George really didn't give us the movies for free either. And he did make money off of them. So what's your point? So I hate when people do that. So very disingenuous. There we go. D. Carre is here. Who else is watching Star Trek DS9? I mean, Ahsoka Episode 7. That is hilarious. Agreed. I think it's overrated too, but it's still above average. There's just so much great EU stuff out there, correct? Oops, I gotta get back to work. Supervisor's walking around. Hopefully I'll be back. Dad, don't get caught. Smash the like button, you all, everyone. I can't do a good y'all, everyone. I don't know. I don't have that kind of slang kind of tone. Jack of all casuals. I remember seeing a lot of Star Wars novels in my local public library growing up. Wished I rented them. That's how I got through a lot of my EU too as well, is either purchasing from the Scholastic fair that happened every fall or whatever, or maybe it was spring, anyways, or checking out the books in the library. I started getting some books for myself, but sadly, like, events in my life didn't allow me to keep these books that I started collecting for Star Wars. So that's just a little bit of my history there. I remember seeing an ad for Heir to the Empire in the back of the old copy of the Han Solo trilogy back in 1990. I was in the library like, ooh, something new. I want to read this. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I feel you on that. I do. It's like, what? Something else? The Filoni faithful. All right. So let's get back into the lore here. Let's get back, because we could sit and just nerd out on just talking about the books and stuff like that. But let's get back into lore here because we still have some discussion going on. So basically, we gave I gave a description of like how they raise their kids, how their culture is in general, like in that aspect. And basically, they had a disciplined lifestyle with self control and a prior. Self control was a priority, and it was the most valued character traits that all Chiss aspire to. So, discipline and self control. Passions were recognized with disdain. Imagine that. So you have a passion, like you're passionate, then it's so that I have to look into more. As such, as energy was believed to be better applied elsewhere. The regimented society meant that crime was abhorred and seen as weakness. And this is something I wanted to get into before we start getting into the military aspect of an individual. Blaming society was a notion of completely alien to their minds. Oh, so these guys would not fit in today's society. Blaming society was a weakness, was seen as a weakness. And it was alien to their mindset. And justice was given with little thought to compassion. So, and we're going to get into this. This goes into Thrawn as well. They did not believe in capital punishment, but viewing it was irrational and emotionally driven instead of a deterrent. Instead, for their most heinous crimes, they exiled their people, and it was more of a grave punishment due to the importance, I can't even read my own handwriting, of family loyalty in Chiss culture. So basically, family oriented. They have the ruling families. You were put in high regard if you became an adoptee. So we talked about that last week. So once you went against the culture, and we're going to get into the military culture here and why Thrawn was exiled, but this gets into Thrawn. He went against, and that quote that I read, and I'm going to read it again because this applies to the point I'm making. And so let's get into that. And my screen just closed out on me. Lovely. Let's get into that. You joined Thrawn, Fel. That's not the same as joining the Chiss. We have ways and traditions that he turned his back on, and by joining him, you prove that you don't respect them either. And that was Gannett to Suntir Fel. So basically, Thrawn in the original lore. So this is where the compare and contrast goes between the lores here, and how these Thrawns are distinctively different based upon the exiling event that I'm going to discuss here. Thrawn turned his back on the culture, the military culture, and he engaged in fighting, whereas they usually don't provoke it or engage in it right away. They allow the opposition to do it first before they engage in everything. So he went against some of those cultural traditions, which was basically a heinous crime to the culture, to the Chiss. And so they exiled him. And they pulled him from his familial statuses as well, to shame him. But Thrawn did not care. He still had, and this is the same. So this is similar to Thrawn's attitude in the Disney lore, is that he still kept his people in high regards to protect him. That's one thing that Zahn never changed. However, what was changed is the exile in original lore. The Chiss totally alienated him. In the Disney lore, it was basically a cover-up to see if the Empire were to get into for Thrawn to get into the Empire to see if they would be allies or not. So there's the difference. One was a ruse, a cover-up, and Thrawn was still working closely with his people, versus original lore. He did commit a, basically, I guess you could say, heinous crime. He went against his own culture, all of that, and they did exile him. Yet he still fought to protect them. He still had his people in his best interest, but he also had the Emperor's interest in his best interest. So there's those both back and forths with Thrawn. So like I said, Thrawn was exiled, so he changed it for the Disney lore. We'll never know. Maybe he wanted to change it to make it clearly different. But then again, he would say in interviews they are the same. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? And then we'll get into the military aspect since we are coming up on the hour. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and scroll all the way down. So I'm going to miss some of your guys' comments here. I might scroll down and up. So going backwards in the chat timeline. Jack of all casual says it's always the Mavericks that get the boot. Yeah, he was different in a sense, different enough that his own people alienated him because, you know, he went against their traditions and stuff like that. Let's see here. Yeah, of course Disney changed Thrawn's origins. Yeah, and it was with collaboration with Zahn. So let's see here. Thrawn was a nationalist. Thrawn wasn't evil, just doing what he thought was right. Yeah, well, yeah, you could still be a villain and still have some evil aspects, because when we see him in the Thrawn trilogy, he did do some evil stuff, but it wasn't in the level of Vader, and he made that very clear. Although he did allow his Nogri to off one of his guys for a mistake they made, as an example. So, you know, he goes, so that was kind of crazy, I guess you could say, because he's like, I'm not Vader, and just killing because, you know, someone made a mistake, but then he does the same thing eventually. So that was you know, a bit like hypocritical of him, I guess you can say. I don't know. Maybe you guys seen that scene differently when he killed off his officer for I think it was in regards to Luke escaping in his maneuver, and I forgot the name of the maneuver, but how he escaped out of being captured. Jack of all trades, action is better than reaction. Let's see, not preemptive strikes. Yeah, but proactive defense. Yeah, I was trying to come to the word preemptive because I didn't write it down, but proactive. Yeah. So you guys are like relating to Thrawn here. Oh, yeah, I wanted to get into this. Thank you for reminding me. So please go help Raging Rhino and his family. Donate if you can. His sister is battling cancer. Yeah, so every bit helps. And, you know, again, my prayers out to his sister and family. And she's from what I get, she's remaining strong. Everybody's, you know, she's got beautiful support, which is always needed in these circumstances. And it's not as, from what I got from it, it's not as threatening, but you never know. So like I said, any bit helps. Any bit helps. As evidence with McDonald's ad. Okay. I'm going backwards in the chat. So instead of reading downwards as I'm going upwards, so I'm going back. Family, don't show or tell the lefties that word. It'll make them back and lurking. Well, welcome back. All right, let me go ahead and let's get into the militaristic part, because there's a lot of the culture that needs to be shared, but I think that we got a little bit of a glimpse of their culture on who they are. Let me read my notes and see if I want to add any more before we move to this. Yeah, we already talked about the military are the ruling families. Okay, let's get into one more thing and then we'll get into the military aspects. The Chiss had a keen interest in art and science and were skilled in mathematics. Their thought processes were was based in the logical mindset. So logical mindset here, being interested in philosophy and in learning about other cultures. So we see that with Thrawn, his how he analyzed different cultures and species was through their art. And but they were also xenophobic. And if you've read some of what's it called again, Survivor's Quest, you will see that xenophobia going on. And any knowledge gained from other culture was used as means of gaining an advantage over the over a potential foe. So imagine that. Okay, so they're xenophobic. They're very private. They don't engage unless they're provoked, right? But they also sit in the sidelines there learning about the different species and stuff. So if anything happens, if these species decides to, attack them, provoke them or whatever, they already have an advantage by learning about them, finding their weaknesses and stuff. And that is seen with Thrawn. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have watched season or episode 7 of Ahsoka, but I think that Filoni falls flat on Thrawn's analytical aspect. There's a scene where information gets to him about Ahsoka, and then he's like, General Anakin Skywalker's was her master or trained her basically. and he's acting surprised. He's acting a bit concerned and fearful, which goes against what we already discussed here with the Chiss culture and their personalities. On top of that, why is he barely finding this out now? Shouldn't he have had that information already? So all these questions come to mind even by giving and presenting the culture here of the Cis. One notable group of individuals that were involved in deep contemplations were Cis sages who studied the threat of the Yuuzhan Vong and concluded that the extragalactic invaders must have sent countless generations traveling through the void between the galaxies. So there you go. Okay. So we already talked about the biology of the Chiss and stuff. Let's get into the military. Okay. Okay, that's the Force. I don't want to read about the Force right now. I'm going to see what you guys, before we get into this a little further, I'm going to see what you guys have to say. Oh my God, my voice is like awful right now. It feels a little, my throat feels a little congested. Okay. I want to share this. Oh, there we go. StreamYards, you're killing me with allowed me to press on the chat to display. Excuse me. Wow. That was him and Palps got, that's why him and Palps got along, right? Bigots. Let's see here. Yeah, you can't be a warrior, not be a philosopher as well. If not, you're all brawn and no brains, and that is an easy foe to beat. Let me see here. Not only do they steal your stuff, but here's specious. They're specious. Those blue bastards. Those blue bastards. Yeah. Hey, the Navi didn't do anything wrong, Soul Assassin. I wish I could get more into some of these, and we might eventually. We will. I just wanted to give some, Chiss Lore, since we have Thrawn and all of that, in the spotlight right now. I wanted to give a clear, discussion, definition, exploration of the Chiss here. Lancer says, "Hey, Lancer, OG Stars, have you noticed that the Empire likes blue, white, and reptilian aliens a lot? When I say white, I mean white, not like white people, humans. Some treated better than humans. Interesting. Nice, a nice, observation there. All right, so let's see here. Am I missing any other here? Let me go up here a little bit more. Even if Zahn is involved in the changes, Disney are the ones who wanted it. Zahn is lame. Yeah. So you can, kind of try to wrap your head around why Zahn wants to change the creations he made already, but that's just gonna just drive you nuts. Jagdin, the pre-crime division agrees. Let's see here. An error is only error when it goes uncorrected. All right, so let's start wrapping this up here because I want to get, since I have two cringe factors, because one came to me this morning, the one I have from last night. So basically, we're going to get into technology here. Chiss were, because we kind of discussed military, basically, they don't do preemptive strikes and stuff. They're very clear on that. They will only act in defense if they're provoked, and they're very private people as well. But however, they do have their squadrons. They are like we see in the galaxy at large, having phenomenal pilots is a must for the Chiss. And that's probably why the Fells came to be with the Chiss in a sense. Very, very phenomenal pilots. The Chiss are notable for having developed their technology independently from outside sources, but they do alter outside sources once they have them, and they do it quite well. Though they developed analogs of many standard galactic technologies, a major problem with understanding Chiss technology was distinguishing specifically Chiss elements from the wider context. For instance, the celebrated Nissus class clawcraft, that was like tongue twister, was a hybrid of Imperial and Chiss technology. That's where we get that beautiful quote from, basically. And many have also involved the input of other species. These blue-skinned humanoids were well known for their self-control and intelligent traits, which produced a series of well-designed and innovative starships. So imagine that. So, being so advanced, like I said, from last week, they're very advanced compared to humans in general. So just imagine, all the technology that we see in, and even other species as well, not just humans, but all the technology we see in the greater galaxy. And then when you compare it to the Chiss, how different it is because of their thought process, their intelligence and stuff like that, how they can take something and alter it into something magnificent, like the Chiss clawcraft. So I haven't done my manufacturing. In fact, I have a somewhat finished edited video, EU short for the manufacturing lore that I've been doing. And it's about the Chiss. So I will be sharing that here pretty soon. I just haven't had a chance to finish it or publish it because of busy life circumstances. Let's see here. Travel through the hyperspace requires Chiss starships to rely upon a number of navigational anchor points that spread from Sela. Such systems allow the Chiss to explore the galaxy's methodically through, though kept them encountering other cultures. So basically, their hyperdrive keep the clawcraft maneuverable and faster. They would have their main ship go maybe so much distance ahead of them, and I forget the distance, I didn't write it down. And then they would, send the coordinates to the beacon, and then they would follow. So they would map out their trajectory like that. However, later on, they basically advanced their clawcraft, and it made it heavier, so less maneuverable than they liked. So it wasn't very popular, slower too as well, to where they would have their own type of hyperdrive on there. And so the original Clawcraft and its design that came from elements of the Imperial hybrid from the Imperial TIE fighter, I guess you can say, made it more effective. They also put their a hull on it and all this other stuff. So if you guys haven't explored the Clawcraft, I would say do it. I wish I would have just put a picture up at least, but I'm sorry about that. And so to come to a conclusion here, they were brilliant in developing and sometimes humans couldn't interpret it that well. Of course, the Fowls did because they were raised in that. Their weapons and defense. An initial analysis of Chiss weapons through the sensor scans led to an unknown form of offensive weaponry. However, a cursory glance indicated that their fighter crafts were equipped with energy weapons, projectile weaponry, so this is even with the Clawcraft, and an unknown form of missile launcher. As such, it was easier to say that Chiss weapons technology was different from that of the Republic than to compare it equally. So very, very different, like I said, and I think rightfully so. Like I said, and like we discovered, they were a very private species, not well known through the galaxy, and they did that for a reason. They did that on purpose. And because of that, their weapons and defense and all of that are going to be different than what we have learned through the lore from exposures of various wars and battles and stuff that has happened in the Star Wars galaxy over time. And I think that was, so this is well done, I guess you can say, because you don't want everything to be the same. If a species is not well known, then of course their weapons, their defense, all of that is going to be different. And so very welcoming and refreshing, because it gets redundant to see everything repeated time in and time out when it comes to different starfighters and all of that. So this is why I like exploring the Chiss a little bit more, because we have something that's different and welcoming and stuff. And then when you get into the Yuuzhan Vong, that is something completely different, but they are extra galactic species as well. Yeah. So, and then the Chiss use a unique type of energy weapon, the Cherik. This weapon fired, and if I said that wrong, I'm sorry. This weapon fired a launching blue beam, sometimes described as a messer, which delivered thermal energy comparable to conventional blaster weapons, coupled with much greater kinetic punch. So just imagine that, but lacked a stun setting. So imagine that. So I think if you read again the duology, and when they captured when Mara Jade was at the fortress, they had a Thrawn fortress there, they were going to go ahead and blast her with one of those, the Cherik. And she's like, wait, you don't have any stun settings and da kind of thing. And they're like, oh, well, you can go into a force trance and heal, and that will get Skywalker to us quicker. And, so she's basically negotiating for her life because of their energy weapon, the Cherik. Low power shots instead. So they had lower power shots instead of administered disabling burns. The most common form of the Cherik was a handheld carbine. But pistols always existed and included among the heavy weapon batteries of a capital ship and bases. So there you go. So a little bit more of that. And they were limited to Cherik energy. But in 1980, the household phalanx based at the Hen of Thrawn mounted both turbo lasers and heavy messer emanators. While both Chiss style weapons mounts and standard Cyner fleet systems blasters were observed on various TIE variants flown by phalanx pilots. By the time of the Swarm Wars, the CEDF had adopted standard blasters and lasers technology alongside macer weaponry. So there you go. So a little bit more there. And in later decades, some Chiss devices were highly advanced. Examples include chameleon cloaked armor, that enabled infantry to blend into the terrain, and long range tracers that activated only in hyperspace, enabling the user to track targets across galactic distance without transmissions being picked up by the standard security scans. The Chiss also made more sinister use of technology and had no ethical objections to their deployment in wars. Imagine that. Thrawn, examples were the development of the parasite bomb, bioweapon, and their use of deadly radiation bombs. They also worked in conjunction with the Galactic Alliance on the Alpha Red virus. So yeah, the Alpha Red, if you're aware of that, the Alpha Red. And Chiss were basically, like I said, we already went with that. The Chiss weren't common force sensitive people. So there we go. So let's see what you guys have to say with this. Oh, I hate when I look back up and everything freezes again. Let's see here. All right, let me take a drink and let StreamYards resolves itself. Because I want to see what you guys are commenting. It's not letting me get into the chat. Well, hell. So if you guys are chatting away, I'm going to go ahead and probably just go onto the YouTube side and read your chats without highlighting, because StreamYards, you're killing me today. Smalls, you're killing me, Smalls. All right, let's see here. So give me some time. Maybe by then it will have resolved itself. Nope, it has not. Okay. Give me some time. Maybe by then it will have. Okay, so I thought I had the volume down. All right, so let's see here. Lancer says, OG. Oh, here we go. It finally resolved itself. Wow. Let's get to this one. OG, did you say they use Mauser? A Mauser legit is a laser more than a blaster. They use them in real life in atomic clocks. Yeah, if I pronounce whatever it is, Mauser, I'm sorry. OG Star Wars, if you are not aware, Avenger Squadron has their interceptors more moded than even the Royal Guard, and interceptors, faster engine shields, hyperdrive projectile launchers, beams, and weapons. Let's see here. And would Chiss still use slug throwers if they didn't have much contact with the galaxy? That right there, we'll have to explore some more later. That's a gum. I was reading Melissa's and I said dumb and gum and whatever. I don't know. That's something that we'll have to explore later. Dumb internet company, you're killing me, Smalls. Yep. Let's see here. And God, it's not just me with StreamYards these days. Yeah, no, I've been seeing a lot of people having some problems with StreamYards. So last night, thankfully, it wasn't bad or whatever. But today, it's just like, let's just take our time here. And this highlight will come up here pretty soon. I have it highlighted, and there we go. StreamYards, get your shit together. Caf Lore right there. And let's see here. So we're going to start segueing into our cringe factor, but let's go ahead. I'm going to read this here. This Thrawn, they lost me at the physical appearance from the start. A combo of Blue Data and Robert Patrick Terminator could never get the sight out of my head. Yeah. And Thrawn's features were kind of more chiseled in the face. Nowadays, I have, with the new Chiss anatomy for the facial features, they have that big, huge ridge, that triangular that goes up to a point on the forehead to the hairline. So that right there, I just never could get past once it was, brought in as a new characteristic facial features of the Chiss for the Disney lore. I much prefer the anatomy, including the facial features of the Chiss of original lore. Do you think they identify themselves as cisgendered? I don't know. Oh, and I know the Chiss are on an offshoot of humans, but they're did I read this one here? I think I did, but we'll go for it again. But there's like 2 other blue aliens that the Empire likes a lot. One that used a lot of the Thai in the Thai quirks. Yeah. So there you go, you guys. Let's go ahead and segue into our cringe factor. Let's go ahead and check out a small little commercial here before we move on, and I will get the article pulled up. I don't know which one to use. Let's go into the Yoda one first, and then we'll go into Filoni retconning Anakin's arc. So let's go ahead and first get into this here.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
Dude. It wouldn't let me StreamYard, you're killing me. I can't with you today. I just can't. So here we are. And the other article I'll pull up, like I said, we'll do this one first, and then we'll get into the other one. So basically, and I need to get an ad blocker. I just need to clean out this computer, get an ad blocker, and there we go. So let's go ahead and get into this. Star Wars Book of Ajax reverses Yoda's anger leads to hate doctrine. So we all remember that little saying here that Yoda describes to, I even believe, Anakin in the prequel trilogy. And that is, let me go ahead and get up the whole quote. I was going to share it on screen, but I'm not. So fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. So I don't know why Disney lore wants to change this aspect of what is being told to young Anakin. And it's also shared throughout the lore. It basically describes the path to the dark side. Not controlling. People misinterpret Jedis are emotionless. They're not. They learn to control their emotions so it doesn't get the best. So they don't respond in an emotional aspect. Because sometimes when you respond, and even I'll compare it to real life. Sometimes I hate comparing to real life. But a good example is if you respond to a situation with only emotion, no logic, no thought, then you are doing a disservice to yourself and the situation. Because you're just acting upon the emotion. Yeah, you can feel the emotion, and then you can take it and turn it into a logical thought. So basically, again, and I think this goes back to the High Republic. I think this is a comic from the High Republic, I believe. We'll get into that because I briefed to this article last night. The trend of making Yoda look bad, like he's incompetent, prequel trilogy movies. And because a lot of people are not paying attention to the High Republic era and all the material that's before, the PT, this is not being highlighted and discussed on another legacy character being bastardized. It's not, because no one's going into that area to read, explore. So it's not being noticed. I've been paying attention, not because I'm reading that shit, because I'm not. I just pay attention because I come into these clickbait articles. I research through them in a sense, go back to the comics that they're referencing and seeing what they're doing. Because these Screen Rant, CBR and stuff may be clickbait, shitty places to go, and can have some off the wall bullshit of an article pertaining to Star Wars or other franchises. But there are truth into this. There are truth in these articles here and what they're presenting and the direction that Disney is taking, even Yoda. And so this is why I do cringe factor, not only because we're like, oh my God, kind of deal, and can laugh at something or whatever, but it also highlights the direction. There is some truth in here, some truth coin. And like I said, I wonder if there's any under the table kind of dealings going on here with some of these articles that pertain to the Disney lore, Star Wars lore. I don't know. So let's get into this article here. Star Wars released a preview of an all-new story called The Book of Ajax, which shows how Ajax, remember that's a cleaner? I use Ajax to clean. Yoda's famous dark side warning. And this is by Spencer Conley. So I think we did do an article from him last time. So here we go. So this usually explains Yoda and all that here. So we're gonna skip. But Ajax Sigma is a droid revolutionary who believes in droids' rights to autonomy, separate from the organics who wish to keep them enslaved. Now, I didn't go explore this character, but far as I know, droids are not sentient beings. So this kind of doesn't sit well with me on this, but whatever. Because we do know that like C-3PO and R2 both respond in an organic way to Han, Luke, and Leia in the OT and even the EU. While not all droids have the capacity to experience sentience without directives, there are a fair number of those types throughout the galaxy, and they are still treated as expandable pieces of tech. Well, that's what they are. I'm sorry. They are droids. They are manufactured. And they are manufactured for certain areas of life or technology that they are useful in. Like R2, astromech droids, they help with piloting starfighters, like the X-Wing. And that's where when you see like Rey fly around without an astromech, an X-Wing, that goes kind of against the lore, right? Because you need, especially navigating through hyperspace and stuff like that. But I digress. Despite that fact that they have independent thought and feelings, Ajax fought for the freedom of those droids against the Jedi Order during the age of the High Republic, and the driving forces behind his unarguably righteous revolution with anger. So there we go. There's the keyword. So I guess this is the glimpse to this, and this is in the hope. I'm not going to read the panels there. I just don't want to. In preview of Star Wars D Squad, whatever. Okay. There was also a sneak peek at another story called The Book of Ajax by Mark Guggenheim and David Messina. It was plenty from this look into Ajax Sigma's history, which will be integral moving forward from the ongoing Dark Droids crossover event with Star Wars Disney lore. The page shows Ajak and his army of droids standing off against 5 Jedi during the High Republic era. Before any fighting commences, readers are exposed to Ajak's internal monologue as the droid admits that he is aware of the doctrine that is later said by Yoda. So he's aware of it. Did he say it before in the High Republic? Maybe. Who knows? That the Jedi believe anger leads to darkness. But Ajak goes farther from the truth, as Ajak offers a doctrine of his own that is better suited for the situation of the droids. Anger born of resentment, resentment born of injustice, injustice born of birth. What do you guys think of that? So he says is better. But then these droids are not really sentient beings. So how can they really express anger? Towards Force users. Now, you know, people could, you know, like Luke has in the original lore, Luke has even warned non-Force users, like, you know, don't basically think that way because you are harnessing the dark side. And I'm paraphrasing, you know, whatever. So how can this be? So this is his saying for droids. I guess you could say anger born of resentment, resentment born of injustice, injustice born of birth. But yet, are they really wanting to be like organics? And but then again, you have C-3PO who talks about his maker, even though like later on doesn't quite remember him because he does get his memory erased at the end of Return or Revenge of the Sith. You know, he's like, thank the maker, you know, kind of deal. So is that the way droids are born? You know, like they have a maker? And why is that less significant to organics being born? Now I'm going to go ahead and check what you guys are saying in the chat. Let's see here. Let me get back to the comments here. If StreamYards will let me. Let's see here. Come on, dude. Oh, I double clicked it, so it's going to take it off. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. OG Star Wars, who would win? The 181st TIE Interceptor wings or the Baron Fell versus the best Chiss Clawcraft wing? Oh, that's a... Think about that. That's a good one. That's a good match. Okay, let's see here. I hate you, StreamYards. I'm like, I want to click on your guy. I'm just going to have to just read it from the side. Sorry, I'm not highlighting you guys. In fact, there we go. Let's see here. Anybody who wants to answer that question, answers question as well. That's what we're about, is basically talking the lore and offering questions and stuff like that. Let's see here. Mr. Dystopian says, ESG reboot. Machines' resentment of humanity. Yeah, that's the thing. And thank you for pointing that out, because I was like, what is that called again? Yeah, so thank you. So that's what's going on. And I think they're going on again. I think this is going towards what George was saying about George. George spoke about droids' rights in a couple of interviews in the past. So I think this is what they're trying to elude on, and something that George said, which I don't know. I think it's a little off-putting in a sense that droids are not sentient beings. Yes, the force flows through everything. Doesn't mean it makes everything force sensitive. these guys are manufactured. They're not sentient beings. They're not organics. So they're going with the infinities of having a force sensitive droid, I guess you can say, which is a what if. So they're taking this what if theory to the extreme, and that's how I see that. So let me go back to, and I don't know why, let me go ahead and unhighlight this. Again, the highlighting is taking forever to highlight it and take it off screen. So I'm just, and sorry if that stays to the page we're reading. Come on, work with me, dude. Oh, come on, dude. This is just so terrible right now. I can't get back to the article. This is just fun. I am back. Holy shit. I was like all in conversation with you guys on my stream, the page for the StreamYards. And I come back to talk with you guys and I'm out. I'm gone. I got yeeted. Holy shit. Use the Force Lore and make the stream come back while I'm back. Holy crap. I might have to edit this part out. We'll see. I don't want to have to take this down or I don't want to have to edit, but if I do, I will. So basically, I went back to talk about it some more and I got yeeted. Somehow, Alora returned. Yes, I did. So what's everyone's thoughts on Ahsoka? How will it end? Soul Assassin's like, well then, what should we talk about? So anyways, I got yeeted. I'm so sorry about that. Let me go ahead and see if we can do the next article here. Let me go ahead and pull that up. But anyways, they were saying Yoda isn't fully wrong about what he said about emotions leading to the dark side, like fear, anger, and all that. But and so the writer tried to tippy toe around that. We all know that Jedis weren't emotionalists; they just learned to control it, so they don't act on those emotions, including fear and anger and all that. So there we go. Go full Karen or OG. And call the internet company. It wasn't the internet because I was still connected. It was StreamYards. I totally got yeeted out. I can't believe that. So they StreamYards gave me an error. Sorry, something went wrong. And that's okay, Diddly Squat. That's my life story. Strong with the Force, Alora is. Yeah. So let me go ahead and pull up that article, the other article. Maybe, hopefully I won't get yeeted out from that. Maybe it was Disney forces against me on that. But let me see here. I didn't have it ready. But I know where I have it. So let's get this party started with this next article here. Oh my God. And you guys, it's so hilarious. It's one of those points where you're really in conversation and deep conversation about something. And then you go check on what's going on and you realize that you were just talking to yourself. Stream demons are worse than Abeloth, I tell you. Yes, you're right, Spantum. But now it feels like it's running more smoothly. So there you go. Not a dull moment whatsoever when it comes to Caf Chat. That's all I got to say. There's times where it's like run smoothly, and then we have like days like this. Mama said there will be days like this. There'll be days like this. My mama said. There we go. Let's see here. Did this come up on the stream? There we go. So you guys, here. And it froze on me a little bit. It's my browser. Like I said, since I updated my laptop, there has been some crazy shit going on. And I don't know what the heck's to do about it. So we'll see what happens. StreamYard has reached sentence 2:14 a.m. 80. Let's see here. All right, so let's see. Well, I don't know why that article is like being like that right now. I just want you to respond in a constructive manner, dude. I can't even scroll it right now. So maybe it's my browser. Maybe if I put it in a different browser other than my Google, maybe it will be okay. I don't know. Let's see here. I think you might need desktop to stream with. I never had problems like this until now, until the update. So I have my main computer back here. I might have to go in and take care of it. Let me go ahead and close this out. I don't want to close all windows though. Let's see here. What's going on? Well, hell. I just want to read. Stop sharing. Let's see. It's like even, there we go. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to see if I can redo that one more time. I may just share, but then hopefully I can scroll on my other end regarding it and see if I can close out on that window. There we go. Hopefully. There we go. Let's try this one more time. Like, It says my buddy has his stream to text to speech super chats through StreamYards. I can look into how to do that if you are interested. Yeah, let me know. Just DM me on that. I would love to make this more efficient, but I don't know what to do with the screen share thing because it's not. I asked for it to stop sharing and it's still stuck on that. So it looks like we may have to conclude this, but that article I really wanted to get into, I'm just going to go ahead and see if, let me go ahead and pull it up on my my handheld, my iPhone here. And I'm just going to, if I'm not frozen, I think I am. I don't know. Can you guys hear me? Hopefully I'm not frozen because like my response, my voice response around my avatar is not lighting up. It looks like it's frozen too. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Let me check here. My internet is good. To be continued. I hear you on this end. Bum, bum, bum. I hear you. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and not bring it up, but I'm going to read you parts of the article because I think it's very important to highlight this article here. And I'm going to go ahead and read it off my phone to you guys since my my browser is it might be the thing that's acting up, or it might be StreamYards acting up and my browser not being able to work through it. Who knows? But I've seen this instance of StreamYards doing this in the past, within the last week or two. So let's see here. Wrong one. Wrong article here. So this is from Screen Rant as well. And I keep on pulling up the wrong one. Damn it. Okay, there we go. I have the right one up. And I'm not going to share because it's like I'm frozen and my stop sharing tab is still frozen up there. And I will try to come in and out and read your guys' comments on this as we go along here. So there we go. We will work through this because I have my ways to engage with you guys. And I'm the kind of person like how my son was in the Marines. So, you know, you overadapt in a come. I may not have said that right, but you know what I mean. Ahsoka completes Dave Filoni's 15-year retconning of Anakin Skywalker. Now, did you hear that? I'll read it again. Ahsoka completes Dave Filoni's 15-year retconning of Anakin Skywalker. Imagine that. Filoni retconning one of the biggest legacy characters of all times. Between him and Luke, and you could possibly say Leia and Han, these are the most pivotal characters to the plot, to the lore, to the story. And this is by L. Kupar. Ahsoka can finally look back on her time with Anakin Skywalker throughout Star Wars, the Clone Wars, with fondness instead of guilt and regret. So I guess that's where they're alluding to where this retconning is. But shouldn't she still be able to look upon her master before the events of his fall and the fall of the Republic with fondness still? I mean, me and one of my aunts, you know, we had a weird relationship where towards the end of her life, it wasn't good. Like our relationship wasn't as it was in my adolescence, and we had our back and forths and stuff like that. But I could still go back and remember, despite the drama, and all that. And mind you, this is completely different than what Anakin went through, but I'm just using it as an example. Despite the drama that occurred between us and the back and forth and the heartbreak and stuff like that, I could still go back to scenarios in our lives together and look back at it fondly. So let's get into this article. Ahsoka Episode 7, Dreams and Madness, has completed Dave Filoni's Anakin Skywalker's retcon. So let's see what this has to say. One that has been 15 years in the making. Imagine that. Just imagine he's been planning for 15 years to retcon Anakin from what this person is saying. Now, the company Disney has only had Star Wars, Lucasfilm, for 10. So this person is saying that Filoni has been wanting to retcon Anakin before then? Imagine that. Imagine that. The Star Wars prequel movies had a tough balance to strike when it was decided that Star Wars' second trilogy would depict the tragic rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker. Anakin needed to be sympathetic, someone the audience could root for. I don't think that's exactly what George was wanting to show us. He wanted to show us, and that's including the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars led into more of why Anakin, if you get into the multimedia project like the Battle of Jabim, it went into why Anakin started, going dark, I guess you could say. And then this goes on to no one who would ever want to see fall to the dark side. Despite already knowing his fate, the prequels fell somewhat short of this objective, leaning too heavily into Anakin's already brewing darkness. And that was the point of George Lucas. And, I've been reading through both archives, episode 4 through 6 and episode 1 through 3. And that was George's focus. So is Filoni failing to see this? And is this writer of this article failing to see this? Let's go on here. Rather than giving him the chance to become the character the audience could truly relate to. Why would someone want to relate to Anakin in a sense as being he was a hero, mind you. I'm not saying he wasn't, but he was very conflicted. He was manipulated by Palpatine. And so why would someone want to relate to something like that? He is not a hero in the sense that Luke is. He's the tragic hero, I guess you can say. And he fell to the dark side. So there's a reason why we need to see him the way we did, because Lucas was given as an example of what would happen if you go down these dark areas of life and path. You can choose. You can choose to continue to go down that dark path, or you can back away from it and learn from that. Anakin chose to do that. He chose greed. He chose greed. He chose possession, all of that. That's one thing that led him to the dark side. That's the lesson that George wanted to give us versus the lesson of the hero that he shared with Luke Skywalker. You can't have heroes on both ends. It kind of like weakens Luke's arc in a sense, and also the redemption arc. I'm not saying that Anakin didn't wear his heart on his sleeve, because that's what he did. But that also was his fall. Because from doing that, Palpatine manipulated him, started turning him against the Jedi Order, in all the ruse to save his wife from dying, saving the one you love. This is a tragic story, and it needs to remain in that tragic essence for a reason, for us to relate in the sense of, like, as an example of what not to do. And then it goes on to, these two versions of Anakin truly became one, not only in the audience's eyes, but in Ahsoka's as well. The prequel trilogy made it abundantly clear that Anakin was destined to fall to the dark side. No shit, Sherlock. Audiences were already aware that he would become Darth Vader. No shit, Sherlock. But there was very little suspense where Anakin's narrative was concerned. In Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, he viciously murdered an entire tribe of Tusken Raiders because his mother's death and his obsessive infatuation with Padme Amidala was everything the Jedi warned against. Well, there's a reason why he did that, and it was all about attachment in a sense of not being able to let go. That fear, that very quote that we talked and discussed about Yoda shared, fear leads to hate leads to, anger leads to, all of that, so that is exactly what happened, why he did that. And we needed to see that. We needed to see his fall to the dark side, right? That was not wrong. And then his love of Padme, which as he started going dark, if you guys haven't noticed the pattern, his compassion turned to passion, turned to possession. His love, compassion turned to passion and obsession. Now just think of that. When you hear George talk about balance, what is the balance of the Force? And it's the light side. He clearly discusses exactly how someone turns to the dark side. And this is seen with Anakin. And we needed to see this, like George was offering lessons through his movies, in a sense. Okay, stop that. It jumped on me. So by chronicling the time between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, the Clone Wars allowed itself to explore who Anakin was between each. Oh, I hate when that happens. When you're reading on the phone and it decides to jump on you. Let me go find where I was at. There we go. All right. So the Clone Wars, let me see. Allowed itself to. Okay. I hate when it jumps. The Clone Wars allowed itself to explore who Anakin was between each of his pivotal traumatic experiences. So again, we're going to watch Clone Wars 03, Tartakovsky's, and I think that depicted Anakin very well in a short time, compared to the 7 episodes of Filoni's Clone Wars. As shown as a prequel, okay, so instead of a brief glimpse here and there as shown in the prequel trilogy, audiences were able to give an entire episodes that featured Anakin's caring nature. No one ever questioned that Anakin had a caring nature or not. Saying that the Clone Wars, and this is what I'm getting to, saying that the Clone Wars kind of fixed what the prequels failed at is wrong. So, okay, so Carrie Nature showcased his friendships with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that was captured in the prequel trilogy. Captain Rex, that was kind of irrelevant. We didn't really need to see that. And of course, Ahsoka, which she really never existed in the movies, so especially Revenge of the Sith. So that too wasn't really necessary. She was just another mechanism for his fall, I guess you can say, that George intended. And she was supposed to be gone, either dead or totally just disappear. And proved he really could have been one of the greatest, most heroic Jedi the Order ever seen. And we knew that already. That was already alluded within the time frame that we've seen, including all the material in the EU. The Clone Wars made Anakin Skywalker fall more than just his Skywalker's fall more than just his destiny. It truly made it a tragedy. Well, that's what we've seen in the prequel trilogy. So the Clone Wars, like I said, didn't need to fix anything at all. Once she discovered Darth Vader's true identity, Ahsoka had a hard time remembering both sides of Anakin Skywalker. All she could see was Vader and the darkness he embodied. She couldn't look back on her experiences as a Padawan with Anakin during the Clone Wars. This is what this person got just by watching the Ahsoka series, or the Ahsoka episodes, those 2 little episodes that really didn't dive into that whatsoever. Rebels really didn't dive into that either. So this person is coming to the conclusion on very little information. Let me see here. Anakin during the Clone Wars, with any sort of genuine fondness or nostalgia, because she couldn't understand how she had failed to see what was happening to him. It's funny that Obi-Wan can look back at the fondness, and he has a greater relationship to Anakin than Ahsoka ever has. He could still relate to the fondness and all their experiences together as brothers, but then she can't. See the difference in this? She shouldn't have left him. Okay, so she worried she shouldn't have left him. So this person is thinking that she worried she shouldn't have left him when she left the Order. The guilt threatening to overwhelm her at every turn. She left the Jedi Order. He was still among it, so she felt she left him. She left the Order in general. Much like the audience before. And then you know what? She never fully left him because she was pretty much involved with him even after she left the Order. So that does not make sense. Much like the audience before the Clone Wars aired, Ahsoka could have only seen the darkness in Anakin and how she had failed him not until now. So as an audience, do you feel that you failed him? Because that's what this person has said. I'm going to read this back again. Much like the audience before the Clone Wars. So they're putting us in the same light as Ahsoka. Ahsoka could only see the darkness in Anakin and how she had failed him until now. How in the hell is it? There's no way she's his apprentice. Oh my God. I'm like a loss for words for this right now. She's an apprentice. He is not her responsibility. Obi-Wan is. She's not his master. There's a clear difference between that. She did not leave him either. She left the Order, but she still remained by his side. Obviously, because he gave her half the 501st for the Mandalorian conflict, I guess you can say, whatever that was. In Ahsoka Episode 5, Shadow Warrior, Ahsoka sees Anakin again in the world between worlds, a separate force-related dimension that connects all the time and space for the first time since the final days of the Clone Wars. Well, she's seen him again in Rebels, but as Vader. So there you go. To her surprise, he looks like the Anakin she knew, not the embodiment of darkness he became. As they revisited some of the Ahsoka pivotal moments from the Clone Wars, Anakin tries to teach her one last lesson. And the message finally became clear. The capacity of darkness was just as much as part of who he was as his kind, friendly, and protective nature. Above all, he was a flawed hero. And Ahsoka had a hard time believing that before. So what I got from seeing clips from that, he was just telling her either live or die. She is not Anakin. She learned from him, but that does not make her Anakin. That does not make his experiences hers. Nor is she at fault for anything, I guess you can say. She left the Order, but she never really left him. So I really don't think that Filoni and his crew that's developing the series or the show quite understand. In fact, they contradicted Rebels so many times already from what I've seen and heard people talk about on Twitter. So, and this person clearly has no understanding with us. She blamed herself for leaving him, not for noticing the signs. Oh, wait. Okay, let me see here. All right. So that's all I'm gonna, let me go further on this. So was his training all that it could have been? Arguably, no. He trained her to be a warrior above all else. In a sense, if you go back into the mythology that George created, the Jedi, they are warrior monks. They are trained to fight when needed. However, we know, like from the hyperspace wars, the Rusan Reformation and stuff like that, they learned not to step up as soldiers because it could be detrimental to them. But if you go in and analyze this whole push and pull with what Palpatine was doing to gain control of the galaxy, he knew by default that the Jedi would step up to defend the galaxy for a greater peace. So if their negotiations weren't successful, which they weren't, then they would step up to fight. That's why they train. That's why they have lightsabers. They train. They use the Force. They try to use peaceful means. They're not pacifists. They will end up fighting to protect and defend against a greater evil. And also realizing the Sith are back was another reason to step up. And the Sith had control of the separatist side, I guess you can say. It's another reason why they stepped up. They were also, Palpatine also, blinded them with the dark side of the Force. So there was also other factors to why the Jedi seem to have failed in this and seem to succumb to the purge. All of that. So, oh goodness. So with this right here, I'm going to read a little bit more and I'm going to see what you guys are saying in the comments, because like on my end, hopefully, like it looks like I'm still up here with you guys. It's just my screen is totally frozen on my end, and I will go to my YouTube channel to read your guys' comments, and then we'll start closing out. All in all, Anakin did the best he could with the time they had together. So this all goes in here. So what do you guys think with this person's approach on seeing Dave Filoni retconning? Took the 15 years, as this person in this article alluded to, like brought up, that Filoni is retconning Anakin, making him, more sympathetic to the audience, and making Ahsoka feel accountable for him, which she shouldn't, because she's not his master. So I want to see what you guys have to say with all of this. And did you see this coming? Did you see this coming ahead of time on how Filoni has been retconning, like even Luke and Anakin's, arc in the Star Wars history? So let me see. Like I said, oh my God, there's so much comments here. So let me see here. We hear you, blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. The original animated movies are just Disney-fied European folklore. And that's from Jacksonville Casual. And then Diddley Squat says, imagine Anakin turned to the dark side because of fear and anger. Wow. Yep, Diddley Squat says, almost as if Yoda was right. Correct. And then again, if anything, Anakin cared too much. He cared so much that he wanted to possess it to protect. Fear turns to hate. Hate turns to anger. Anger turns to suffering. For me, it ends with suffering leads to apathy. After Star Wars was Disney-fied. And that's Jack of all casuals. Diddley Squat says, all Ahsoka did in TCW was disobeying and disrespecting Anakin. True. Exactly. Of course, she had no idea what was happening to him. And nor was it her responsibility to stop it. Really, she was just a catalyst for him to fall further. YouTube given me all the fits since the update. It crashed 5 times, and this is a Jag. Let me see, 5 times with the stream alone. Okay, all right. And then let's see here. Hey guys, I'm leaving the police force, but at the same time, I'm working with you guys on the other cases, even though I'm leaving. Sounds dumb when you read it like that. Correct. And Diddley Squat's laughing here. And I do have a super chat. Sorry I can't highlight it, but I'll read it. I cannot see anything on my end on StreamYards. But hey, that Star Wars Civil War is just happening and the sequel trilogy still been erased, right? And then Disney Squat, I'm sorry for that. The ultimate insult. I'm so sorry for that. Color me embarrassed. And super chat, $20 from I drink, therefore I am. This all ends with the reboot of Star Wars the day after George dies. And that's what we've been discussing on the spacing. And smash the like button. So you guys, what do you think about this? We seen it coming that Filoni has been rebooting since he came in to do the Clone Wars. This is nothing new. And with the approach of Ahsoka and how she seems more pivotal and pivotal to the story now than even Luke Skywalker, even Leia. And now Anakin. that this clearly is a stepping away from the true heart of Star Wars. And, you know, the saga was never called the Skywalker saga. Disney is separating the movies from the greater lore because they're separating themselves from the Skywalkers. If you have not noticed that, that's another true tell sign of that. So thank you guys again. I can't even play anything to close out the stream. I can't even press the button to close out the stream. I might have to go out and come back in to end this. This is quite amusing. Holy heck. I'm just glad that last night's meetup with the the members wasn't this eventful. So thank you guys again. I'm gonna go out and come back in. So give me a chance to close the stream out one more time before we fully leave here. So let me go ahead and see how this works. Let me see if I can do this. This is quite embarrassing, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead and close this out. Oh, geez. Let's see here. Let me see if it's going to respond to me. I'm going to reboot my computer too. Oh, it doesn't want to. Close all windows. Oh, holy hell. It's my browser, maybe? I don't know. Holy heck. This is crazy. Wah, wah, wah. Oh my God. And I can't even click on the X button to get X out of this, the close button. Holy heck. Guess who's back? Back again. Guess who's back? Tell a friend. Here we go. Okay, so yes, here is I see the super chat that I read already. You guys are up and moving around. The stream is finally moving. All of that. Holy shit. Wow. Now this Caf Chat, I'll probably edit some of these out. I don't know. I might just leave it as is. I just hate to just like scare people away with like a long time frame of silence. So we'll see what happens with that. Let's see here. But thank you guys for holding on and hanging out. Holy heck. I don't know, like browser or StreamYards. Browser was working earlier when I was doing research and stuff. So I don't know if it's StreamYards or what have you. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Yeah, exactly. I see that. I'm scared to highlight. Somehow OG returned. Still I bit roboting. Can you? And it's weird because my internet, it's not showing me any internet problems. So I don't know. So I'm going to probably before next Thursday go through my computer, clean out any large files, see what I can reconcile on here so that our next Caf Chat and also for the webinar member meetup to watch the Clone Wars 03 won't have any problems. I don't want to have any problems sharing screen. Webinar last night was perfect. It was okay. I mean, no technical difficulties. However, I've been hearing a lot of StreamYard difficulties as of lately. And now I finally experienced one. So thank you guys again. Can you at least press buttons? Yeah, I can. Let me see here. I'm like almost afraid. There we go. In and out quick. So there we go. So thank you guys again for hanging out. Again, Filoni, a hack. We already knew what he was basically rebooting in a sense, using TCW. And then again, later on for, Rebels and all that. That has bastardization of Yoda. Again, it's not being noticed because no one's paying attention to the high. Mark with a C has discussed that as well on his channel. So just keep your eyes open. Even though these sites are clickbaity and stuff, there are some truth to the direction Disney is taking Star Wars and the lore. Once we are gone, and once George is gone, there will be a total oh shit, I froze up again. There we go. There will be a total reboot. Right now we're witnessing soft reboots of the lore. So there you go. But it's always good to have George Lucas era right in front and center to keep the heart of Star Wars alive. And that's the focus of this channel always and forever. As long as you guys are coming in and sitting with me and in discussion, watching the videos that I put out, I will remain so that it's not too distracting towards people who want to come and watch this video. And thank you guys again for hanging out and putting up with the technical diff with me. You guys are awesome, amazing. I could not ask for anything more. So you guys have a great day.
Prepare yourself for Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. The evil Empire has struck back with a vengeance, and a new villain, the crime lord Chiss Lore, schemes to replace Darth Vader as the Emperor's second-in-command. With Han Solo held frozen in carbonite by bounty hunter Boba Fett, it's the rebellion's darkest hour. Now, join Jedi warrior Luke Skywalker, hard-charging Chewbacca, and go undercover with heroic pilot Dash Rendar and his booming Outrider. But can Han Solo be freed and Chiss Lore be stopped? Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. Look for the authentic figures and vehicles from Kenner.
Another happy landing.